The Stellar network leads total off-ramp locations by asset. Literally like, hey, man, we are the champions, if you will. Ramp up with Stellar. There's, of course, a source. Got to have a source, but let's blow this up for a second. There you go. Look at that. Look at how many off-ramp locations. 322,000. And remember what we were talking about earlier? How are they going to get it done? Through what? Through the asset of USDC. So I give you guys some of these examples. Let's give a shout out to Sammy. This is a guy who verified some of the transactions that happen on, Wisdom Tree, right? Some people were like, can you verify some of this stuff? He went out of his way to verify some of this stuff. So I do respect this guy. He follows me. He's into anime. He's a gamer, blockchain dev. He's really big up on Stellar. He says, real utility is not about spending more money on PR, influencers, YouTubers, right? Even myself, and fake articles. It's about creating real use cases that people can use. Guess who are not on this list? Let's pull this up for a second. Look at that. Even BTC does. Even though it's at 98,208 with off-ramp locations, it's not even a drop in the bucket compared to what Stellar has. That's a big difference. All right. Glad to share that with you guys. Let me show you guys just a little bit more of what we have for our Stellar coverage. This comes from Danelle Dixon. We all love Danelle, right? Let's jump into this. And on this one, you do see reported and retweeted from the Stellar Foundation from Danelle Dixon. She states, at Stellar Org, we are all about unlocking blockchain's potential. Read the block report to see how Stellar and on and off ramps bridge the gap between fiat and digital economies, empowering businesses to solve real world problems. We've been killing it with the coverage. I will toot our own horn on this one when it comes to Stellar lately. Why? Because you know what? They've been ramping it up, no pun intended, their coverage, right? Have you not seen more coverage about Stellar as of lately compared to probably like a whole year, right? A lot's been going on. Just because you don't see something, like I mentioned before, happening day in and day out doesn't mean there's not things going on. It basically means that they're working in the background. I think, we've proven this. There's been more than enough examples specifically about this. So I want to show you guys some key things in regards to, I guess you could say, this brochure, because it talks about like all this stuff about, the on and off ramps and so on. So we're going to jump into some of this briefly here in a bit. They have on and off ramps locations all over the world, all over Asian countries, Europe, Africa. And basically speaking, there's just some real key things I think that we should, get into. Here is the brochure. I'm going to show it to you guys right here. And on the executive summary, it says, here's what we found. 2 blockchain networks, Bitcoin and Stellar, are supported by the greatest number of cash on and off ramps, respectively. Now, if you want to check out this brochure for yourself, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is just put in some basic information when you go to the Stellar link. You can even make up some BS name if you don't even want to use a real name, but you do have to have some kind of email for you can at least get it or get the link to it. But yeah, supports the greatest number of cash and on and off ramps, respectively. The gap between these 2 networks and those that trail them is significant. The number of on and off ramps, or on ramps, I should say, that support access to BCT is 240% greater than the second most supported asset. Similarly, the number of off ramps that support USDC on Stellar is around 230%. greater than the second most supported asset. That's worth pointing out. The number of on and off ramps to assets on blockchain networks is not evenly distributed globally. North America has a disproportionate share of the cash on and off ramps worldwide. Within North America, the United States in particular hosts a disproportionate quantity of cash on and off ramps. Now, of course, we always talk about MoneyGram song. We gave you that update in the past. Check out what's mentioned here in this brochure. And this is a brand new brochure from Stellar. The states specifically, MoneyGram is the single largest provider of on and off ramp access with over 300,000. Yes, you read that right. 300,000 agent locations offering blockchain access worldwide. Now, let that just sink into your head. If you're a brand new person to all of crypto, right, and you still don't understand a lot of this stuff, like you don't even technically even know what blockchain means or DLT or any of that stuff, it's okay. But know this, just like me, when I was first introduced to the concept of cryptocurrency, I'm literally thinking about, well, can I use this to go buy groceries or pay for gas or just, pay for bills and stuff like that? And the whole idea is the answer is yes. But with more and more mass adoption, you like the idea that through MoneyGram with Stellar, for instance, they have all these locations. Now, while 20,000 locations sounds super impressive, again, once we achieve over 50% worldwide adoption, for the people, the naysayers that say that Stellar is only going to stay around $1 and so on, does that make sense to you? I don't think it does. Because if it's moving all this money, it has to be worth quite a bit of money in the future. That's just the way I look at it. We can agree to disagree, but I'm not the only one who feels that way. According to our estimates, MoneyGram also has a higher share of ramp locations across different geographies with a smaller concentration in North America relative to other providers. The primary asset that MoneyGram supports, like I mentioned, consistently as of lately, is USDC on Stellar. The latter thus benefits from MoneyGram's extensive network of cash ramps. Think about that for a second. So we get further into this. Jump to this next part real quick. Let me just go further down. Nothing like a good old Control F to kind of help you out a little bit. Anyway. This real quick about the methodology. All right. So it says public blockchain networks rely on, think about this for a second, third-party service providers to enable access to assets running on their networks using cash. To compile the data for this report, we looked at close to 100 such providers to determine the number of cash ramp locations they provide, which blockchain-based assets they offer access to, and their cash ramp locations that are distributed geographically. The sources we use determine cash ramp locations by providers, including data made publicly available by cash to crypto ramp providers on their sites and documentation, and data aggregated by data providers such as Coin ATM Radar. Now, they have definitions about this, about the cash ramp service providers and so on. I'm going to talk about this just real quick and before kicking the next thing. We're going to focus on this cash ramp part real quick, and then the other part about crypto assets. So it says cash ramp. There are two types of cash ramps, if you weren't aware of this. A cash on ramp is a location where an individual can exchange physical cash for a crypto asset that can be used on blockchain rails. On the flip side, a cash off ramp is a location where an individual can exchange a crypto asset for physical cash. Individual cash ramps can also support one or more crypto assets. So again, like we were mentioning, over in Japan, you had, BitPoint, you had literally Genki Oda, blanketed a whole bunch of different areas with those BitPoint, BTC ATMs and so on. Now, instead of picturing that, picture literally Stellar through MoneyGram, having these available literally all over the place in different continents, countries, and so on. And 320,000 is nothing to bat an eye at. Again, once we get more of that adoption, worldwide adoption and so on, I think it'll be like a regular everyday type of thing. Just like at one point when people went from that period of time where, and I remember even when I was a little kid, right? For instance, my dad no longer using checks and stuff like that. And then that period back in the 90s of actually using a debit card. That was a big deal for a lot of people, right? So literally picture that, right? And going from, that stage, right, with that quote unquote technology to, for instance, like what Stellar's got going on and so on. Just because a newcomer doesn't necessarily could picture that in their mind and so on, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. They are literally preparing for the future. And my thing is, I want to be invested at very low prices into some of these things. Again, the concept of that future generational wealth. All right, let's talk about this for a brief moment. Crypto asset. The specific crypto assets we focus on in this report are fungible tokens that can be transferred on blockchain rails, such as tokens include native platform tokens like BTC and ETH, as well as non-native tokens such as USDC and USDT. You can check out this whole report if you choose to do so. But again, what was referenced a lot was what you saw with Stellar. And of course, like it mentions about the off-ramp locations and so on. And some of these stats right here about, asset USDC, how Stellar ranks number one on that off-ramp location, 322,000. That is really a big deal. So anyway, yes, you can check it out. It's called the Block Pro Quantifying. It sounds like kind of like us buying QNT, right? You want to see if you quantify for more of these on some exchanges. I don't know, it's a bad joke, but anyway, Block Pro Quantifying Cash to Crypto Access Worldwide is the name of it, and you can find it right on Stellar. It's literally at the top tweet. You can find it easily. I was able to get this within 20 seconds.